How many? Two? Who's there?
No, just
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Monday.
You were 15 seconds late, and Lois was getting worried.
I wasn't getting worried.
Yes,
I
you
said,
were.
"Where's Liz?" That's all I said. Leave me alone.
I was logging on
Yes.
We'll make it snappy.
and making sure I had my coffee.
Oh, good idea. Oh no, our phone is ringing. I'm putting it on mute for a second. Hold on.
Go for it.
Scam call.
I've had two this morning so far. I haven't picked up the phone. When the phone says scam, I don't even look at it.
Yeah. It doesn't say scam. It just gives me a number I don't know at all. And so I know it will be. But I mean, unless it looks like it could be, like you say, a hospital or a something.
Yeah. And even that is
I
not
know.
necessarily who they say they are.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Actually, what I'm doing now is putting the phone on mute, so it won't ring during our class.
Good thing. So I listened to that podcast
Yes.
with what's
The
his
Noam?
name in Hujiwatsi. Yes,
with,
it was really good. It was so good that what's his name left.
oh, Omar, he left, right?
Omar Bavot,
Yeah,
something like that.
Bartov.
Bartov left.
Yeah, I know. So what did you think of Dworkin? Noam. By the way, did
He's
you
a
stay
smart guy.
Yeah, real smart guy. Did you watch till the end when that woman
Yes.
comes on? What's her name? Pereira? I don't know.
I-
She's a New York comedian or something, and she's also on that show a lot. But
Yes.
so anyway,
Yeah, I listened to the end of the end of the end till he signed off.
yeah, he's really good. I mean, there's a lot of subjects. He covers everything. He has a general podcast.
Yeah, and he checks.
I know.
He looks up whomever he's having on. He goes and he finds everything he can about him.
That's right. He does. Yeah, I've been listening for I don't know, maybe a year, maybe 6 months. I can't tell what time is anymore, but so I've heard a lot of different subjects. Some of the subjects I'm not interested in, but so whatever.
Yeah, when I first went in and good morning, Estelle. And typed his name, Noam
Dworman, yeah.
Podcast. I spelled it correctly. I got so much stuff popping up, but nothing current. It was all like 2023, 2024, all old stuff.
I know.
It took me a while to find the actual podcast I wanted.
Right. You actually almost had to put if I think if you had put in Omar Bartov.
That's what I finally did.
Yeah, then it would come up. Hi, Estelle. She's probably unmuting right now.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. Hi. Good morning. A good week.
Yes,
everybody.
Start of a week.
Right. So far, they said it was going to be really, really hot today, but so far my thing is saying it's 80 right now. So
it's a very hot 80 out here.
Yeah. Humid, probably.
Yeah, it seems to get hotter in the afternoon.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's supposed to hit 90 around 3:00.
Oh, yeah. So maybe I should. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to go out, go early.
I will. I'll go right after this class if yeah, because I won't have stuff for tomorrow's class if I don't. Tuesday class. Yeah.
You can pick the stuff up on the way.
That's true. Larry can pick up stuff on the way if I don't go out. That's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Or you, Liz. No.
Yes.
Liz could go out.
Yeah, if you need anything, tell me now because I'll be in Libertyville this afternoon and plenty of shopping
all right.
there.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. So Rabbi Vobistu.
Oh, had to let the cat in.
Did you watch any of Trump this morning in Scotland talking?
I watched too much Trump in Scotland.
No, okay. Rabbi.
All right, I'll go nag him.
I don't
Okay.
watch anything of Trump. I just, I feel the less I watch him, the better.
I absolutely, it really gets to you watching him. It's, ugh.
I'd rather watch pro wrestling.
Ah,
All right, I sent the rabbi a quick text. It says
okay.
absolutely nothing about joining the class.
Right. Okay.
What it does say is, good morning, it's Monday.
Okay. I can't remember. He has a class right before us or right
I
after
think
us
he
on
does.
Monday. Oh. Yeah.
I think he does, but
And this
usually
dumb
he's done
Dominican.
by 11:05.
Mm-hmm.
Here he comes.
Yep.
Hi.
Oh, look who's here.
Good morning.
I
Good
just
morning.
want you to know, as
Yes.
that text was coming,
Yes.
I was moving towards, but I'm grateful. Thank you very much for the text.
I sometimes forget that Monday exists, so
Some people try to forget it. But
exactly.
It still does not.
Monday.
Da, 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 da,
So
da,
good to me. Yes.
Monday.
ba, dee, da, dum, boom.
Are we muted?
No. I don't know if we finished this one.
I just wondered if they might, that Tom
Yeah.
Lehrer died.
Tom Lehrer died?
Tom Lehrer died.
Oh,
He was the most brilliant
I know.
satirist that ever lived. He was a mathematician.
Yes, I know that.
Great mathematician.
Oh, you saw
No, I
that?
did not know that.
No, I knew that before.
Oh.
And you could
Yeah.
tell everything he was a polymath.
No, you just saw that he died. That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I saw that he died.
Oh.
Other stuff.
He must have been like 90 something.
97.
97. Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
And he was campaigning against Trump in the 1920 election. I remember that. No, 1916.
Campaigning? Was he singing?
No. He said, I'm Tom Lehrer, remember? I'm still around.
That's cool. All right. So this is 208. He prohibited the Nazir from entering the tent of a corpse. We started with this, but I don't think we finished it. And that is a saying, by a dead body he shall not come. And in the so it's not just forbidden for him to directly come in contact with a dead body, but even to just be in the same room with the dead body. And in the explanation, they said in the Gemara, Scripture spoke with a categorical verse, he shall not become impure. Hence, when it states he shall not come, it is to prohibit it about impurity and about the entering. So there's a warning against generally not becoming impure. And then these extra words, he shall not come, lo yavo. So that is to warn about even being in a room with a dead body. He is only lashed once, and that he is only liable for 2 sets if the impurity and the entering were together. For example, if he entered into a house with a sick person and he sat there until the person died, as it comes out that he became impure and he entered the tent that had a corpse at the same time. But if he enters the tent of a corpse, the impurity preceded the entrance, as it is explained there according to the principles that are demonstrated in O Halot. So I guess he becomes impure right before he enters, like on the, I guess, in the doorway or something. So technically they're not coming at the same time. And for some reason that makes a difference when it comes to lashes. I guess because he's already impure. Once he's already impure, he's not going to, he's technically not making things worse by entering the tent. Now, we have talked about, like with a Kohen, that even though a Kohen is impure already, they're still not allowed to go into a cemetery. It's still forbidden for them to go into a cemetery. So it's not simply because going into a cemetery is going to make them impure, even though that should be the major reason for it. Okay, so here it seems to be that when it comes to lashes, that it's only when both of them are happening at the same time, because in order to get lashes, he can't already be impure before he enters the tent or something. He prohibited the Nazir from shaving, and that is his saying, no razor shall pass over his head. One who shaves the head of a Nazirite is also lashed. So it's forbidden for the Nazir, and it's forbidden for the person who shaves the Nazir, just like the one who is shaved, and he is lashed from the time he shaves one hair. The regulation of these commandments of the Nazirite have already been explained in Tractate Nazir. Okay, so those are the laws of the Nazir, and they covered at least 6 different mitzvahs here. This last one about shaving, the one about not entering the tent of a dead with a dead body, shall not come in contact with a dead body. So that's already 3. He shall not eat the skin of grapes. That's 4. He shouldn't eat the seeds of grapes. That's 5. He should not eat raisins. That's 6. He should not eat grapes. That is 7. And he shouldn't drink wine. That is 8. So there's actually 8 mitzvahs that are connected to the Nazir here. That is a lot. Okay, new subject. Mitzvah 210, negative commandment 210. He prohibited, in other words, we are not allowed to harvest all of what was planted. So if you have like a garden or a vineyard or a wheat field, one must leave some of the end of the field for the poor. And that is his saying, you shall not completely cut the corner of your field. This negative commandment is rectified by a positive commandment. That is, that if he transgresses and cut all of what he planted, he may give the amount of the corner from what is harvested. And that is his saying, you shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. So if he did cut down every bit of his field so that he did not leave the corner of his field, so in that case, he could still give what would be the amount from the corner of the field. He can give that from the already harvested crop. As we explained in the positive commandments, positive commandment 120, the commandment of the corner is practiced with trees, just like it's practiced with fields. So if you have orchards, same kind of thing. But this commandment is only practiced in the land of Israel as far as the Torah is concerned. And the regulation of this commandment have already been explained in the tractate that is connected to this, which is Peah. So again, when it comes to the agricultural laws, so they are in the first order of the Mishnah. The Mishnah is divided into 6 orders. The first order of the Mishnah is the agricultural laws. There is no Babylonian Talmud on those laws. There's Mishnah, but not Gemara, except for the Tractate of Brachos, which is not really about the agricultural laws. But it happens to be in that section. But there is Jerusalem Talmud. So even though there's not Babylonian Talmud on those areas, there is Jerusalem Talmud on that. So you could have something Yerushalmi on Peah. Next, he prohibited us not to glean the sheaves that fall in the field at the time of the harvest. Rather, one must leave them for the poor, and that is his saying, you shall not gather the gleaning of your harvest. This too is rectified by a positive commandment, like we explained about the corner. The regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Peah. He prohibited us from harvesting the olalot, incomplete clusters of the vineyard at the time of the harvest, and that is his saying, you shall not pick your vineyard bare. Rather, one must leave them for the poor. This law is not with other trees. See the Rambam in his introduction to the positive commandments and the Ramban's critique on the counting of mitzvot. So he says that this law, when it comes to trees, not that you have to leave, if they're an incomplete cluster, you have to leave them on the vine. That only applies to wine, to grapes. For their prohibition is with his saying, when you beat your olive tree, etc., and that is that you do not take what is forgotten of the olives. Know then that other trees are only forbidden concerning what is forgotten. In other words, let's say with olives, it doesn't say something like, well, if you're in the part of an olive tree where there's an incomplete cluster, because olives don't grow in clusters on the olive tree, that law, that specific law, only applies to grapes because they grow in clusters like that. It wouldn't apply to olives. There is a law which says that if you left over olives, during the first run of harvesting, if you left over olives, then those are called forgotten, and you have to leave those for the poor. So even with olives, there's stuff you have to leave for the poor, but not that specific commandment about what's left in the clusters. This too is rectified by a positive commandment, and the regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Peah. He prohibited not to gather the single grapes that fall in the vineyard at the time of harvest. Rather, one must leave them for the poor, and that is a saying, neither shall you gather the single grapes of your vineyard. This too is rectified by a positive commandment, and the regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Peah. Now, when he says that it is rectified by a positive commandment, that means that the negative commandment is not going to have malchus. You're not going to have lashes, because you don't have lashes for commandments when there's a rectification. So for the classic case is stealing. Even though stealing is a very serious crime, but since you could return the item that you stole, so therefore the stealing is not punishable by lashes. So too here. Okay, here we comes a long one. He prohibited us from taking forgotten sheaves. And that is his saying, and you forgot a sheaf in the field, you may not return to take it. The commandment of leaving what is forgotten is practiced both with produce and with fruit trees, and is rectified by a positive commandment. For if one transgressed and took it, he is obligated to return it to the poor. And that is his saying, it shall be for the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. The regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Peah, and know that the principle with us is that any negative commandment that has a positive commandment attached to it, if he fulfills the positive commandment in it, he's not lashed. But if he does not fulfill it, he is lashed. An example of this is that if he harvested the corner, he's not liable for lashes immediately when he harvests. Rather, he must return the sheaves. And likewise, if he threshed them, ground the wheat, and kneaded the dough, he must give what was fit for him for his obligation of the corner from the dough. But if it happened that the wheat got totally lost or it was burnt, then he is lashed, as he did not fulfill the positive commandment in it. And all the more so if he negated the positive commandment actively when he ate all of the wheat, but do not think that which they said in the Gemara, for us, we only have this and one other, and it's explained that this one other is the corner, requires that the law is in fact only exclusively regarding the corner. No, rather the matter of the other one is meant to say the corner and everything, the law of which is like the law of the corner. So you have leaving the corner, but you also have leaving individual grapes or olives that you've passed by in the harvest. You have to leave those for the poor, and again, like it's saying over here, if something was bundled and left in the field but then forgotten, so you're not supposed to take those. So this applies to not only vegetables, it applies to trees as well. Each one of them is a negative commandment that is rectified by a positive commandment and has the possibility within it that is possible with the corner of he fulfilled it or he did not fulfill it, he nullified it or he did not nullify it. For the verse from which we learned that there is a positive commandment with the corner is, his may be exalted, saying, you shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. And that appears about the corner, the gleanings, the single grapes, and the olalot. He said there, you shall not completely cut the corner of your field, you shall not gather the gleaning of your harvest, you shall not pick your vineyard bare, neither shall you gather the single grapes of your vineyard. And he likewise said about the forgotten sheaf, you may not return to take it. And once we have found the language in the Gemara that the corner is a negative commandment rectified by a positive commandment, and they brought a proof about the positive commandment in it from his saying, you shall leave them for the poor and the stranger, it is a proof that these 5 commandments are all negative commandments that are rectified by a positive commandment. So as we mentioned, as long as he fulfills the positive commandment in it, he's not lashed. But if fulfillment of the positive commandment is no longer possible, then he is lashed. However, so long as it is possible to fulfill it, even though he has not fulfilled it, he doesn't get lashed. Rather, we only command him to fulfill it until we know that he's already transgressed the negative commandment and there's no possible way for him to fulfill the positive commandment in it. And then he is lashed and heed this content and understand. So it sounds like he's just re-emphasizing something he already said, but clearly that is not the Rambam's way. He always has some reason why he needed to say it, but it does seem like that's what happened. He prohibited us from planting forbidden mixtures, which is what we call klaim. And this is not a kerem. We talked about forbidden mixtures in a vineyard, and this is just talking about like in a field or a garden. And that is his may he be exalted, saying, "You shall not sow your field with mingled seed." Now, this does not require that a hybrid result. It is already forbidden just to plant them near each other, even if no hybrid results from it. One who plants them there is liable for lashes by Torah law, but it is permissible outside the land of Israel, and the regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Kalaim. Now, did we also say that about Kloya Kerem? That it's permissible outside of Israel? Right. He's saying that here. I'm assuming we said that in Kloya HaKerem. Oh, here we go. He prohibited us from planting grain as well as other vegetables in a vineyard. This type of forbidden mixture is called forbidden mixtures of the vineyard, and that is may be exalted, saying, "Do not plant your vineyard with mingled seed." The language of the Sifrei is, "Do not plant your vineyard." Why do I need it? It is not already stated, "You shall not sow your field." And this would, without a doubt, include a vineyard and seeds. In answer, they said, it teaches that one who has a forbidden mixture in a vineyard transgresses two negative commandments, and know that a forbidden mixture of the vineyard is only forbidden by Torah law in the land of Israel, and on condition that he sows wheat, barley, and grape seeds with a single hand motion. However, so you have to, I guess, you have to have the seeds together, and you're throwing them down onto the earth. That's when you have violated the biblical violation. However, one is lashed for the forbidden grafting of trees everywhere. And so if you actually graft trees together of two different species, that is forbidden everywhere. And its prohibition comes under his saying, "You shall not sow your field with mingled seed." The regulations of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Kalaim. So planting the seeds together is biblically forbidden in the land of Israel. Actually grafting trees together, that is only forbidden that's forbidden anywhere in the world. The seed one is only forbidden in Israel. And also, we mentioned that the resulting fruit of the grafting, let's say, for instance, it's a Jew who did it, wasn't supposed to do it, or a Gentile who grafted fruit. The simpler one is a Gentile who grafted a tree. So the Gentile who grafted the tree, is not forbidden for him to do it, but there is a result. So let's say you have a nectarine, which is a peach and a pear. So that nectarine is not forbidden to eat. Now, if a Jew did it, it could be complex as to whether it's permitted to eat that end result, because it's possible that you would be considered aiding and abetting someone in the performance of a Torah violation, which is forbidden. It's called lifnei iver. And so it's possible that if a Jew did it, it could be forbidden for those reasons. Besides, rabbinically, they may have considered the fruit forbidden to eat if a Jew did it. In a particular, you'd need a very specific scenario and know all of the conditions are met in order for a prohibition to have resulted. So that is talking, we have talked about kalaim in a field. We've talked about kalaim in a vineyard, and we've also talked about grafting trees together. Also, just want to say, like, for instance, let's say you're trying to make a particular strain of apples. Nowadays they have these apple strains that are, if somebody comes up with a new popular apple strain, it could be worth probably tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. That's how profitable these apples are. I remember when Honeycrisp was first like, suddenly became everywhere. You had these Honeycrisp apples everywhere. So I remember reading an article where somebody who owned a supermarket said that the item that brings in the most profit in the store were the apples. Those apples brought in the most profit in their store. So it wasn't just that apples were valuable, they were like super valuable. They continue to be. And typically the way apple trees are made is through replanting shoots from an already existing tree. Now, let's say you wanted to create a kind of hybrid that is made up of different strains of apples. That is not climb. That is not a prohibition, because it's considered within the same species. So just like we're about to read that you're not allowed to mate different animal species together, that's only if they're actually considered different species. But different, species. But if they are considered the same species, they just, are a variation of each other. So let's say you have dogs. So even though you might have dramatically different looking dogs, but they're all considered dogs. So then, breeding within the same species is not considered a violation. He prohibited us from breeding forbidden mixtures of animals, and that is his maybe exalted saying, do not crossbreed your animals with different species. Each time he breeds them, he is lashed, on condition that he breeds them with his hand, the male organ into the female, like a brush into a tube. That is not something you should read on a full stomach. And in the explanation, they said, with adulterers and forbidden mixtures, from when he inserts it like a brush into a tube, then he is lashed. So, and the regulation of this commandment have already been explained in chapter 8 of Kalaim. So what would be the case if somebody artificially inseminated an animal with and you were trying to make some kind of a new species? So would that be the same level as a violation? That would be interesting to research. There is a series of books called Contemporary Halachic Problems with Rabbi J. David Bleich. And he will, oftentimes what he'll do is he'll discuss a kind of modern halachic problem and then go back to earliest references that might have some input into this contemporary halacha. So like things like hybridization, modern hybridization amongst cows, amongst sheep, because you're trying to get cows that produce the most milk and the healthiest milk. So there's going to be all sorts of genetic manipulation, whether it's through breeding or through other means, And again, the question would be, are you allowed to do this it would appear that you are within, as long as they're considered within the same species. But let's say you were trying to create a wolf-dog hybrid. So are a wolf and a dog considered the same species? It does not seem like they are. So at some point, even if you argue that dogs originally came from, or at least some dogs originally came from wolves, it could be that they've now become a new species, and then it would now become forbidden to mate them together. And they do that with wolves and dogs. There are certain breeds they're trying to experiment with where they are breeding wolves and dogs together. Also, what do you call it? Not wolves, but coyotes and dogs. Also, I think there's something called a dingo and a dog. So it could, I'm assuming these are kalaim. Once you're doing that, that would be forbidden. Now, let's say you're not actually breeding two animals together like it described here, but you're using in vitro in order to create, to create this hybrid. So, yeah, so that would be a kind of modern halachic question, a practical halachic question, where you'd be going back to things from the Mishnah that you're talking about, ideas that were discussed 2,000 years ago, in order to determine if something that's on the real cutting edge now is a violation of the Torah. He prohibited us from doing work with a forbidden mixture of animals together. And that is his saying, you shall not plow with an ox and with a donkey together. Each time he does work, such as plowing or threshing with them, or he leads both of them together, he is lashed. So let's say you were using an ox and a donkey. So, also, let's say a mule and a horse. I'm pretty sure a mule is considered a different species from a horse, even though it could be born from a horse. So again, I'm not positive about that. I think that's the case. So it's forbidden to like hook them up to a carriage and have them take the carriage to ride a plow, to do a plow, or to thresh with them, or like, in other words, let's say you have them pulling a grinding stone in order to crush wheat kernels into flour. Each time he does this work, such as plowing or threshing with them, or he leads both of them together, he is lashed. This is from his saying together, meaning to say not to bind the two of them together for any type of work. However, according to the Torah, he's only liable with two species. Two species, first of all. One of them has to be an impure animal, and one of them has to be a pure animal. So, like an ox and a donkey. Yeah, so a horse and a mule, it would not be a biblical violation because neither of them are kosher animals. But a horse and an ox would be, because the ox is a kosher animal and the horse is not. Once he plowed with them or pulled them together, he is lashed. The regulation of this commandment have already been explained in Tractate Kilaim. So when we speak of Kilaim, there's Kilaim of seeds, which is in a field or in a garden. There's Kilaim in a vineyard, and there's Kilaim in orchards through grafting. He prohibited us from preventing an animal from eating from the thing upon which he is doing its work. So if it's threshing, in a threshing field, or it's carrying straw on its back from one place to another, you cannot prevent the animal from eating it. And that is may be exalted, saying, you shall not muzzle an ox in its threshing. And it is explained that it is the same if it is an ox or any other animal, it is included in this negative commandment of muzzling. It is only the scripture speaking according to what is common. That's why they say an ox, but it could be any work animal. And plowing and other work is the same. One should not prevent it from eating that which is working with at the time of its work. Anyone who prevents it is lashed, even if he muzzles it with his voice. So this is one of those places where you explore whether or not your voice is considered an action. Remember, we said with regard to lashes, with regard to Malchus, we said that it's only action. There has to be an action-related mitzvah in order to get Malchus. So here, what's happening is the guy is shouting at its animal not to eat, and the animal pulls back from eating. That's when it means muzzles it with his voice. The Gemara says this is forbidden. I think it's Rabbi Yochanan who says this is forbidden, and you get lashes for it, even though you've done this whole thing just with your voice. So it appears here that voice is considered an action. This is actually a machlokas Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, whether you can get malchus for something that is not an action. And this comes up in this discussion about muzzling by voice. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, because this then became a part of the discussion about using voice commands when it comes to technology. Nowadays, this is brought up. This one, there's two related mitzvahs like that have to do with voice commands that are considered violations, even though you're just using your voice, and they therefore become part of this discussion about voice-activated electronics. Okay, I am grateful that we got a chance to learn together. I look forward to learning together tomorrow. Be well.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.